All right, well, welcome everyone. It is 6 o'clock and we have a lot to talk about this evening at this blue and gold chat, Unlocking the Power of Therapy Dogs. Um, I just want you all to know that we're going to have a Q&A feature. There's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So if, as we're talking with the guests, you have questions, please drop them into the Q&A. And at the end of the program, we'll open that up and answer some of those questions. We are recording the chat today. So just wanted to make sure, just let everybody know that. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Mary Hannafin. I am an Associate Vice Chancellor for Development. I started at UMass Dartmouth just about a month ago. So this is my first chat. And with me as my co-host is Shannon Wood. She's Director of Annual Giving. She may be the newest member of the Alumni Network attending this chat. She just graduated with a Master's of Public Policy from UMass Dartmouth last week. So congratulations, Shannon.
Thanks, Mary.
Shannon and I are filling in for the usual host of the Blue and Gold chats, Susan Ahern, who had a conflict. So before I introduce tonight's speaker, I wanted to just share a few updates about things going on at UMass Dartmouth. There were 4 commencement ceremonies for the class of 2025 just last week, May 15th and 16th. Crowds gathered as usual at Cressy Football Field and the auditorium to cheer on the graduates as they crossed the stage. UMass Dartmouth conferred 1,900 undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and law degrees. And of those 1,900, the class of 2025 represented 248 cities and towns in Massachusetts, 33 states, and 29 countries. Chancellor Mark Fuller recently announced the appointment of new deans for the College of Arts and Sciences, College of Engineering, and College of Visual and Performing Arts. We look forward to welcoming these new deans to campus and to introducing them to the alumni community. So stay tuned for opportunities to meet them over the coming months. And finally, I hope you'll make plans to visit campus for the Blue and Gold Weekend this fall, starting on October 15th. We've extended the fun into the week, starting with the annual Alumni Awards on Wednesday, and some great new alumni and family events, and of course, the game on Saturday afternoon. And now to our program. We are thrilled to welcome our speakers, Sandy McConnell and Annie Jones. Sandy is a 1997 graduate of the Charlton College of Business at UMass Dartmouth and owner of South Coast Dog Training and Care in Dartmouth. After training humans with her bachelor's degree in human resource management and a master's degree in instructional and performance technology from Boise State University, she began training dogs to help people who have physical and psychological disabilities. Sandy often returns to campus with her dog Homer to help students through stressful times like exams. And I want to be sure to mention that Sandy is a veteran, having served for 15 years in the Army National Guard. Annie is a retired correctional officer from the Massachusetts Department of Corrections, and she served as a liaison for NEED's world-class service dogs. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology with a concentration in addiction from University of Southern New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire University. She's currently working as lead case manager for a first responder program for addiction and mental health. And she's been part of a certified pet therapy team. Annie is the owner of My Good Dog Training. Shannon and I are going to alternate questions, and as you can see from the bios of our speakers, we're in for a treat. So remember to post your questions to the chat. So I'll start. Sandy and Annie, can you please share with us how you began your journey with dog therapy?
So I've been a people trainer for most of my life in a variety of topics and industries. I started volunteering for NEEDS in about 2014. That's when I met Annie. I realized I really enjoyed working with the dogs. So I decided to combine my passion for training and my passion for working with dogs and become a dog trainer. I shadowed a local trainer for a couple of years and I attended Catch Canine Trainers Academy in New Jersey. And then I started South Coast Dog Training and Care in 2017.
While working in the Department of Correction, as you noted, I was a liaison for the needs program. After I retired from the DOC, I volunteered and eventually worked with needs. So I ended up culminating about 13 years in the service dog industry. I volunteered with an equine therapy program. And as you noted, my poodle and I were a certified therapy team. Most recently, I was volunteering with Clear Path for Veterans in their service dog program. And so you can tell I'm very passionate about therapy dogs and animal-assisted therapy.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. What trends or changes are you most excited or concerned about right now?
So I'm very excited that people want well-trained dogs, but I'm even more excited that people want to train their dogs to be therapy dogs. Dogs make people smile. They make them happy. What can be better than that? My main concern is people who want their dogs trained to be service dogs so that they can bring them everywhere. Service dogs are trained to do specific tasks for people with disabilities. People say to me, I feel better when the dog is with me. That's not a task the dog is trained to do. Um, Therapy dogs cannot be service dogs. Service dogs cannot be therapy dogs. The service dogs are for one person. Therapy dog is meant to help a bunch of people.
Oh, that's an interesting distinction. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting out?
Try to find a trainer to shadow and find a dog training school that helps you get the basics down, not just about obedience, but other areas like learning about dog body language, which is super important. Even the way that they bark is important because all their barks mean something different. So getting that on hand, application experience from somebody who's already done it or is doing it, and then getting that schooling as well.
How long does it take to get that kind of certification?
Depending on the program, some programs are just, might be like a few months. I went, I think mine was like 2 years, the 2-year program. So including workshops, where we work at St. Hubert's. Uh, they had in New Jersey where we would work with the shelter dogs and use them for the training and so that we could develop our own training skills. And those dogs get a lot of hot dogs and cheese. So, but it depends. There are some programs out there that it's just a few months, but it's mostly just obedience type training.
For both of you, thinking back on the beginning of your journeys, can you talk to us about what inspired you to work with therapy dogs?
Actually, it was very random that somebody who was working at UMass said, "Hey, yeah, I was training her dog," and she said, "Hey, would you like to bring Homer into the university and for a stressless day?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." We didn't have stressless day when I went there, but sure, I'll bring them. And it was just like to really just help relieve stress for the students and faculty and staff, whoever happened to walk by at the time. And I'm like, hey, something, I really like this. I want to keep doing it. So I think it's been a couple of years now that I've been bringing Homer to UMass.
For me, it was, although I was training or helping to train service dogs in the prison, I could physically see the changes in the inmates. I saw them learn purpose. I saw them begin to have some empathy. There was something bigger than them, maybe for the first time in their lives. Something as simple as just walking a puppy into the prison for the first time would make inmates and staff just stop and smile, which, for a dreary place, a little wiggly puppy could change everything. So I kind of latched onto that and really enjoyed what I saw coming out of other people. I didn't qualify for a service dog, but certainly could work in the therapy field as well. So that's how I got my start.
Great, thank you, Annie. Transitioning to the dogs themselves now, can you two talk to us about what qualities make a dog suitable for therapy work?
So the dogs have to have a good demeanor, of course. They have to be okay with people petting them and touching them. Some people might just want to walk by and give them a little scratch or, chin scratch or whatever. Or some people sit on the floor. I've had people sit on the floor with Homer for like an hour, or maybe more, just because they love that kind of comfort. And so they have to be able to be okay with being touched. Homer definitely fits into that category. If you've never met Homer, he's like super, super chill. And he does some cool things. He can wave, he can roll over, he can cross his paws, he can give a bark if I sing, "Who let the dogs out?" Not sure if people appreciate my singing, but they do like that he barks when I say that. He can pick things up and stuff like that. My other dog, Bonnie, who I also bring to UMass on occasion, she just wants to be pet by everybody, right? Like if there are 7 billion people in this world, and if every one of these people pet her, she would be very happy. The thing with Bonnie is like she's got a lot of energy and is very wiggly. So where Homer is great for pretty much everyone, the older generation, when I bring dogs to like assisted living or nursing homes, Bonnie would not be the best therapy dog for that. She's just got too much energy for that type of environment. So it depends on the people and as opposed to as far as what dog would be best for a therapy dog, but they still have to be good dogs, right? No aggression or anything like that.
Yeah, I call it a biddable, trainable, very accepting dog. So I had two poodles, two siblings, and it was probably the best training I ever got to see that one of them just didn't want to work. She had absolutely no drive. She was loving, but that was it. She just wanted to be home and content. While her sister Maddie, the one that I was a certified team with, loved to meet and greet people. She had no favorites. She loved children. She loved elders. We did reading to Rover, nursing home visits. We did hospice. With that one dog, we were able to do it all.
Fantastic. I know you two talked a little bit about this already, but can you explain to us the process of training and certifying a therapy dog?
So for our puppies between the ages of 8 weeks and 5 months old, I start them in our Star Puppy program. So it's a 6-week program. It's the AKC is the one that has designed the program, and it's about not only obedience, but it's also about being a responsible dog owner and having the dog be well socialized and exercised and stuff like that. So we start them in that program, and the STAR stands for socialization, training, activity, and responsibility. From there, or dogs that we start a little bit older, I put them in my level 1 program and teach them obedience, impulse control. Not everybody likes dogs, so the dogs can't just like walk up to everybody, right? So we have to teach them impulse control, and continue to keep them socialized. We have to expose them to the sight, sound, smells of the world. We do eventually get the dog in class to prepare them for the AKC Canine Good Citizen certification, which is something that is needed regardless of the therapy dog program the dog ends up going through.
That's great. And Sandy, I know you touched a little bit on this too, but can you talk to us about the difference between a service dog or an emotional support animal, and what that may look like?
So a service dog is a dog that's specifically trained to do tasks for someone because they have a disability. So they're a one-person dog, and their focus is on that one person. They're allowed public access, so people with disabilities can take their service dog to public places. Therapy dogs, as I mentioned, are dogs that put a smile on a bunch of people's faces, right? So I want to make everybody happy, and they're not allowed public access. So I get to go to UMass because somebody at UMass says, "Hey, Sandy, can you bring your dog or, both dogs here for whatever?" I can go to nursing homes because they asked me to bring a therapy dog there, but I can't just bring my dogs to a restaurant, okay? Because they're not service dogs. Emotional support animals are really just pets. People need them to be named emotional support animals, usually like if they're trying to get into housing or something like that, where they need like a doctor's note and stuff like that. But people say, "Do you train emotional support animals?" I'm like, "It's a pet. Yes, I'll train it." So, but also they're not allowed public access.
That makes sense. The access piece seems to be clear between all those different ones, so that makes sense. Annie, I'll pass this next one to you, but can you talk to us about kind of the core mission or philosophy in using therapy dogs in human services in general?
Sure. The involvement of therapy dogs in human services is actually rooted in the philosophy of holistic person-centered care, which is an approach that places the individual, but not on the diagnosis, at the heart of all the care decisions. And what that really means is that we're not going to talk about the medications. We're going to talk about all the holistic pieces in trying to get somebody better. This model recognizes the unique and powerful healing bond between humans and animals and values the role of relationships in the recovery process. It can be medical recovery, it can be addiction recovery, it can be mental health recovery, recovery. I do believe that the mission to foster a collaborative partnership between professional and animal therapy is working together to provide compassion, emotional support, and sensory stimulation to promote healing, resilience, and personal growth. And that's where your recovery comes from, right?
Absolutely. And I was going to say, do you feel like there's a gap being filled with therapy dogs that a traditional intervention may miss right now?
Yeah, so traditional interventions, I'll just name a couple: CBT, DBT, ART, trauma therapy, rely very heavily on verbal communication and human interaction. That can feel very intimidating or very, very clinical. Therapy dogs, on the other hand, offer unconditional acceptance and comfort, especially for clients who struggle with trust or shame. They can offer like immediate stress reduction versus medications, which take some time to work, or people don't want to take them. For individuals with challenges such as autism, speech disorder, trauma, or cognitive impairments, therapy dogs can actually facilitate nonverbal emotional expression. So you don't actually have to have a verbal conversation. You can actually see the person express themselves.
That's fantastic. Do you feel like there are certain populations, and this could be either one of you, that benefit most from therapy dog programs, and maybe why?
Do you want to answer that, Annie?
Sure. So I think pretty much any population could take advantage, but some very specific children, like a Reading to Rover program, or in personal one-to-one therapy, college students, schools, first responders, uniformed professionals, mental health and substance abuse, nursing homes, assisted living, Girl Scout troops, medical personnel, patients. And the reason why is the dogs can increase the oxytocin level, which improves moods, reduces stress, and provides comfort. So there's actually, hormone activity going on.
And UMass Dartmouth students, like Sandy said, the
And the
favorites.
students.
Yeah.
Was it stressless day?
Stressless day. Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to take it over from Shannon. You both have started businesses in this field. Can you talk a little bit about the first steps you took to start a therapy dog program or business?
So first I did basically a needs analysis to determine what's necessary for dogs to learn to be a good therapy dog, right? Because it's not like, oh, my dog's just a good dog. We use a temperament test to determine if the dog is a biddable dog. The temperament test also helps us to determine a dog's strengths and weaknesses. From there, we develop a training plan to guide owners through the therapy dog process.
Great. And what we talked a little bit about this already, but the qualifications or certifications that are essential for someone who wants to become a therapy dog handler.
The handlers need to be able to pass a background check. The dog has to pass its AKC Canine Good Citizen test. The owner and dog have to be certified as a therapy dog team. So if Homer and I are a certified therapy dog team, someone else can't bring Homer to do the therapy dog work, because the team is the person and the dog, not just the dog. Okay. And the qualifications depend on where the therapy work is being done. So, just because Homer and I are certified to be a therapy dog team doesn't mean that we can go into any facility and do therapy dog work there.
And you've talked about different facilities or settings that you've brought, that you've had partnerships with. What are there particular ones that were most critical in getting your program off the ground, your business off the ground?
Well, the first one was UMass, right? So that was my first experience with it. I'm like, all right, I'll bring Homer there. And then I said, wow, there's so much to be done here, and it made people so happy. And when I started getting mental health workers saying, hey, I want to have a therapy dog in my practice, or somebody who works in the hospital saying, hey, I want to be able to bring a therapy dog here. And it went on from that, like school resource officers, other people who might work at schools and stuff like that. So it's just, and seeing, because their needs are a little bit different depending on what their jobs are and what they want the dogs to do.
You both outlined that it's a lot of work to do this kind of work. But people who are starting businesses sometimes really need to know what the challenges are that others have faced before them. So can you talk about some of the challenges you faced?
A big challenge is to actually get the people to do the work. Right. So this is like true, even if they have pet dogs, the challenge is getting the people to do the work. Of course, another challenge is not actually knowing if the puppy or the dog is going to be a good dog. Like Annie said, one of her dogs is like, yeah, I don't want to work. I'm done with this. I'm just going to sit here and be a good dog, throw the ball. Right. So, so if the people don't want to put in the work, or you find that they're not putting in the work, or the dog isn't doesn't really have the demeanor to be a therapy dog, or it's just working that the dog, it's just not the dog's thing. Stopping, not training the dog at all, or stopping the program when you realize that it's not going to go anywhere. But the hardest thing is really to say to somebody, hey, your dog's not going to be a therapy dog. It's just, and it's a hard thing, especially if somebody wants their dog to be a therapy dog, it means that they want to give back somehow. And so to tell them that that's not going to work out is really hard to do.
Mm.
Can you two talk, or Sandy, can you talk about how you train and maintain kind of a consistent standard when training multiple therapy dog teams at the same time?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have different classes that the dogs go through depending on their age and how they progress. But we also have a manual that everyone gets, which helps guide them through the obedience, the exposure, the socialization. It includes training logs and also like worksheets for when they go out on field trips, so we can see where the dogs are doing well, where they're not doing so well, and how we can help them overcome any obstacles.
That's great. And a follow-up question to that, like, how are you measuring impact and success both for your business and the dogs and the people that are being served as part of the training?
Well, anytime anyone smiles when they see the dog, I know that we're making an impact, right? So, so you just saying dog and you smiled, Shannon. So, so yeah, so that's certainly an easy way to measure the impact there. As far as the business is concerned, it does help promote my business, not only when people see Homer and I, and sometimes Bonnie together, but also through word of mouth, through other therapy dog teams and just clients in general.
Great. Another question here. How do you ensure the physical and emotional well-being of your therapy dog as demand increases?
Making sure they're healthy, so vet visits, watching their body. Sometimes they're tired and they're like, hey, I'm done with this. So we want to make sure we give them breaks. So we end visits when, if it's seems too much for the dog seems overwhelmed. Not overbooking the dogs because everybody wants a therapy dog, or for extended periods of time. Sometimes it's like, well, that's too long for a dog. 3 hours is too long for my dog to sit there and have people interact with it. Avoiding stressful environments that might be too busy or too loud. So I've been in situations where there's like a lot of machinery, and I'm like, it's not really fair to the dog, right? They're very sensitive. So
That makes sense.
There are so many benefits, as you've started to describe, to having therapy dog visits. Annie, can you talk about some of the benefits that you've seen in your work?
Yeah, so I've seen, in reading to Rover, someone who really struggled to, a child that struggled to read a book would actually open the book, and even though they wouldn't read to an adult, they would actually read to the dog, which is very, very cool to see. Maddie and I did nursing home visits, and you could actually see the person just lighten up and smile, and it changed their day. Probably the most significant visit I ever did with Maddie was a hospice visit. We visited a woman and her husband in the hospital. The husband asked that I put Maddie on the bed so that she could settle near the patient. And so I was a little off put by that, but I did it. And once the dog settled, the husband began to cry and told me, I know my wife knows that you're here. She knows the dog is here. And so I said, oh, okay. And so he went on to say that he and his wife had raised poodles early in their marriage. And I don't know if Maddie did anything for the woman, to be honest with you, but I know that she allowed the husband an opportunity to reflect on some wonderful and happy memories and have happy tears instead of sad tears. And that visit will carry with me for the rest of my life. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it sounds like there are as many benefits for the partners to the therapy dogs as there are to the people that you're working with.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the conditions that that dog therapy can help with? Like we see here a lot about PTSD and anxiety or autism. And if those are, some of the areas that are where dog therapy can be helpful, how is it helpful?
So therapy dogs can be beneficial for individuals with PTSD, anxiety, autism. They can help reduce stress hormones like cortisol and increase oxytocin and support a sense of connection. They provide a source of comfort and companionship, which can be particularly valuable for individuals struggling with mental health challenges. In discussing specific disorders such as PTSD and anxiety, therapy dogs can offer comfort and tactile stimulation. They can help an individual feel grounded and less anxious just through patting with the dog, their hand on the dog. For those on the autism spectrum, therapy dogs can act as a social bridge, maybe helping to increase communication and social interaction, especially for children who are absolutely withdrawn. They may try to make some eye contact with the parent or the therapist, or even with the dog can reduce anxiety in overwhelming anxieties, environments, schools, shopping malls, public settings. So there are very specific things that a therapy dog can do for these specific disorders.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, from a school standpoint, how can schools start a therapy dog program? Say we have some teachers or educators on the call tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so, what I've experienced with my business is that the guidance counselors or teachers or other employees want to get a dog trained, as a therapy dog to bring into the school. And sometimes teachers like, oh, I want to have a therapy dog in my class, or guidance counselors, so that when the students go in, and it's something calming, for them. A big thing recently has been school resource officers, that want to get a therapy dog, not only for the schools though, but also because they are first responders, and if something happens, it will, help their fellow officers, uh, you know, bring them some calmness and stuff like that, because they go through a lot that we don't even think about. So that's been very popular lately, the school resource officers.
Absolutely. And Sandy, to follow up on that, what challenges do you see for, institutions like schools that are trying to implement a program like this?
Obtaining a dog, because they're you want to find a dog that has a good demeanor. So, so if it's a puppy, you hope that it comes from, parents that have service dogs or therapy dogs, in that line. But they're expensive. So if you can't get a dog donated, then, finding the money, they usually have, grant money. Well, some of them get grant money to purchase a dog, but also, right, all the things, just like having your own dog, money for food, the vet bills, training, time, insurance, all those things. So really, the money part of it is very difficult for, who's going to take care of the dog. You want a dog at UMass? Shannon, are you going to take care of that dog? Like, it's a lot of responsibility, and especially the training. It takes some time to get dogs through a therapy dog program.
Absolutely. And can you talk about how, safety and well-being is ensured, obviously for the dogs, but then also for people that are interacting with these dogs, say in kind of public places like you were talking about?
So, proper training for the dogs, of course, is important. One of the things that we talked about and I've experienced this at UMass, with not everybody is dog friendly. So some people are allergic, some people are afraid. Actually, I was at the Grove and somebody walked in and she like stopped in her tracks, and you could see her and she was like going like this. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, basically she was afraid of dogs. So I just brought Homer over to me and I told her, I'm like, he's fine. We could just walk by. So we want to make sure that we keep like the people safe. We don't want her or anybody else to freak out because there's a dog there. Keeping so it's very overwhelming if people want to go like this to the dog, right? Everybody, all of a sudden you get 6 people that are doing this. So making sure that you put the dogs in an environment where it's not too overwhelming. I went to a high school because the school resource officer asked me to go to a high school in Rochester, and so there were 100 and whatever number of kids there, and of course every one of them wanted to pet Homer. So I actually had them come down on the gym floor and sit in a circle, and then I just let Homer say hi to everyone, so I didn't have a bunch of kids like all over Homer and him get all stressed out. So we have to give clear direction for the people who are petting the dogs too. People have a tendency to want to do this and pet dogs on the top of the head, and not all dogs like that, even though we try to get the dogs to be okay with that. But petting them under the chin, and that's just easier for the dog to handle than a hand over the head. And of course, if the dog's not feeling well, is hurt or whatever, not bringing them into an environment where they're going to be around people who want to touch them. Like when you're sick, people like go away, right? So same thing with the dog, go away.
Makes sense.
Well, I think with that, that concludes our prepared questions. However, Shannon, could you check? I see there are a couple questions in the chat, but Sandy, you said that if Homer was close by, you might be able to entice him to come on, because I'll bet our
Yeah.
attendees would love to see Homer if he's around.
See if I can wake him up. Homer, come here, bud. Homer, my lap. Well, all right.
There he is.
So sweet.
There's Homer.
Who's that? Where's that? Over there. Look over there. No, wait. No, wait. Bunny, my left. Oh, this one's a little different.
Oh, okay.
This
Yay.
is Bonnie. Some people have met Bonnie, but most people it's because Homer and I were doing it long before I started bringing Bonnie, and you can tell that she's a little bit more in your face. She's just happy to be in my lap right now. Bonnie off.
Good girl.
Not a good girl.
All right.
I do have some questions, so I'm happy to start with the first one here. And this is a little bit of a story, so I'll read this to you all. I have an amazing yellow lab rescued from Qatar. She is age 6 and healthy. From the day I got her, I knew she would make an amazing therapy dog. I'm interested in getting her involved. I'm a retired physical therapist and would have time to visit with her. Where do I start? I actually feel like she has the skills already and does everything I read is foundational. Where do I get a needs assessment? I believe she could already pass the CGC test. So either one of you can take that one.
So at the very end of this presentation, there'll be my contact information, which is my email address. And that's the best way to reach me. And you can give me your name, the dog's name, age and breed, and a little bit more about what you want to do, where you want to bring your dog, whether it be school, rehab facilities, hospitals, whatever it is. And any training that the dog has had and would be helpful too. But it's a great email conversation back and forth so I can get some information.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to put both of your contact information up at the end of this. We have another question here, and I want to encourage anybody listening, if they want to put their questions into the Q&A, we'll have a little bit of time to answer. But second question here, what therapy dog organizations do you certify through? Do you know much about other organizations for therapy dogs? And if so, what are your thoughts on some of those?
Annie, I'll let you start that one.
So Maddie and I were certified through Pet Partners. I was actually very, very impressed with their program. I had to actually do online classes and I had to pass a test. And then Maddie and I had to go and we had to go to Tufts and pass almost like an Assistance Dogs International type test. It was a pretty intense physical exam, meaning that we had to walk through a crowd, we had to get in and out of the car. She had to be solid around wheelchairs and crutches, around noises, touches. I think it was 10 or 11 steps. I should have had it out. I didn't think to even put it out there. And once everything culminated, it was a point system, and then you were actually certified as a team. But like Sandy noted before, she and I were a team, so I couldn't hand Maddie off to Sandy and let the two of them work. It was her and I together certified.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I saw someone had raised their hand, but I think that we can only take questions through the chat. Is that through the written in the Q&A?
So. Yeah, that's our ones that have been submitted. So.
Okay. So before we wrap up, is there anything, Sandy or Annie, that maybe didn't come up or that you wanted to reinforce. It sounds like we've got some people who might be interested in putting their themselves and their dogs through training. And any last words before we wrap up?
I can say it's absolutely rewarding. Unfortunately, Maddie has passed, and I think that when you start this process, you have to know at some time the process will end, and you have to be prepared for those feelings. It's hard, because you are able to do so much with this dog, and you not only do other people get satisfaction and happiness out of it, but it fills your heart as well. And so when that day comes and you can't do it anymore, it's tough to deal with. So as exciting as it is, and as much hard work as it is to build this dog, get the right dog, do all the training, pass the certification, enjoy the time that you have, because it may be 6 years, it might be 8 years, but probably not a whole lot more than that. Most dogs are really adults around 18 months to 2, which means if you get those 6 years, your dog is 8 years old. If you get those 8 years, your dog is about 10. And those years go by very, very quickly. But I would say to anybody that wanted to do it, follow that dream.
So definitely, and Homer is 9, and he's getting to that point where he's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore. And so where Bonnie, like I said, I can bring her some places, but she's not a replacement for him. And she doesn't do the tricks that he does, but she's pretty, and she just loves everyone. So, and if you ever see that we're going to be on campus, by all means wear black, because she loves anybody who's wearing black.
Oh,
Oh yeah, she just likes getting that white fur all over. It's
oh.
pretty funny. Yeah. Graduation was awesome because
Oh yeah.
people had like her fur all over their gowns and stuff like that. Who cares? So yeah.
All right, and then someone asked if they would like to get in touch with you, and we're going to I mean, right now, I guess, Shannon, you could flash up the contact information.
Sure.
So people, and we can, Susan will probably send this around afterward as well. So there it is. So that is the contact information for Sandy McConnell and Annie Jones and Susan Ahern, who usually hosts this program. I really want to, on behalf of Shannon and me, all of us at UMass Dartmouth, and I'm sure all of our guests tonight, thank you so much, Sandy and Annie, for sharing this, your passion with us, your career, your work in this amazing field that helps so many people. And so I want to just ask all of you to keep your eyes out for other Blue and Gold chats that are coming up in the future and other alumni events. It's been a real pleasure to be with you tonight. And once again, thank you so much, Sandy and Annie.
Thank you.
Thank you both.